organized in that way.
It's a tough day, and the next few days will be even tougher. Justice has to be served. We just cannot continue to be like this. I don't know what happened since Martin Luther King days and today. I don't see much difference, but that difference is belonging to us. We must continue to do our fight. We must establish our right as a human being in the United States and all over the world. Thank you very much. And they started a child in the ASAAL first convention. Today, both of them are graduated one of the very standard, high standard, top level 50 universities. ASAAL. It is not because he told us bring the taxi workers. We brought the taxi workers. The seminar that you see is for taxi workers, not alone to do this seminar, but then from this seminar, we will produce the resolutions that will create a law. Now, law we cannot create, but we will lobby. ASAAL will lobby in the city council, with the mayor, with the state assembly and senate, and definitely we'll expect governor to sign, to change what you have heard in this seminar today. If we do not continue to bring all our communities together, not to forget the issue, the taxi brothers and limousine brothers, the issue they presented to us today. It is our promise within next 1 year. If ASAAL cannot bring a law in the state and city council, and we cannot make the mayor sign few administrative orders, then we are failing to start with. And failure is not the one ASAAL promotes. We only promote success. Yes. With all of you coming together and all of you coming in the future days, we will do more. You have to think this way. In this country, whether you are 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, or now, recent new, every politician, whether they are in the community board or city council, or assembly or senate, or house or congress, all of them has told us they are for middle class. They have want to save the middle class, the working people, unionized people. But when they started talking about union people, in this country, 37% of all workers are union. After they talk about last 40 years about the middle class, today we have only 8% workers are unionized in this country. If you consider city of New York, everybody is union. I'm not talking about New York City. We have 2.4 million. In that period, ASAAL definitely can play a role that will be unimaginable tonight. And it will only happen like you, people. Like today we are honored. We have a group of people. Some of them are elected officials. Some of them are administrative directors there. Some of them are organizers in the union. Came from New Jersey, mostly based in Atlantic City. You will hear from them during dinner time. But we should feel glad that we are calling upon people, those who have some sense. If you are not part in negotiation on the table, you will be part of the menu they will eat you have sitting on the table. So the time, you are not going to do it only for us. You are not doing it for yourself. The community that you are from, the area that you live in, you have a responsibility to that community. And of course, these things cannot be done alone and individually. So when you come in a group format, when you come in this forum, our message will be clear, to the point. We have to stop them talking about family, but they leave the family values. We have to stop them, they talk about education, but education education is optional. Learning is optional in this country. They talk leave no child behind, but they leave the funding for the child behind. We need to understand those. When they talk in technical terms. Being South Asian, we have to be smarter the way we are, the way we know,
and I
the way we
thank you for inviting me here to this convention. I look forward to working with you as we move forward with these reforms. Thank you and congratulations on your 8th convention.
Well, to the South Asian community, I'm from South Brooklyn. That's right. So yeah, that's great. But I want to thank Ralph and everyone here for inviting me because this really is a growing community, and you're really growing in political influence and in the labor force too.
In terms of South Asian American labor, that means we fight for your rights, and we are here for you. We are a labor-based organization, and our main aim is to promote the labor benefits and everything, then so that the people can earn a decent living and have a good education for their children.
To be a part of ASAAL as well as to be a part of this today event. I would like to extend my thanks from my heart to every immigrant. We have a lot of issues to be discussed, so we came together to come under the umbrella of ASAAL.
We did so many accomplished in this organization, and I think in future we have more agenda to be progressed, and I think inshallah one day we'll be success more, and I think would help ASAAL member and elected official. I think we'll continue to do our voice for the community to bring more issues.
I'm always looking forward to the convention, because whatever we discuss at the convention is what we accomplished in the following year. We set our agenda, and I'm really excited about the panels today, all of the panels. I want to thank everybody who came. I know the weather is tough, but I think it also filters out all the fake people. Today we have all the real people. And I think if you can accomplish a lot more with 20 real people than you can with 100 people who don't want to do anything.
We are really appreciate. This is for our 7th annual convention, and I hope we have to learn a lot of things and everyone enjoy, and our president bring the food so
Please
everyone
focus those
enjoys
3
the things.
seminars, because that's what the tone is for next year. We are so excited, especially having those cab drivers who are our South Asian brothers and sisters. You know, we always call, quote unquote, by cabbies. You know what, we are cabbies, but we can be what we want to be, like a most powerful union leader, like Mark President would be, if you want to be. So be ASAAL, out of ASAAL, let's enjoy the convention. Thank you!
Yes. Convention Committee Coach.
I'm so honored to be a part of ASAAL. My parents came to this country with $300 and a suitcase from Punjab, India, and I became a civil rights lawyer to honor the promise that of this country. And when I am part of this group, I mean, I can't tell you how much I believe in what we're doing. You know, we are on the cutting edge of something great. In 2011, when I was 28, I ran against a 28-year incumbent. People in Lower Manhattan said, "You're a nice kid, but you really have no chance here." But we mobilized and we had a strong operation.
My co-host is going to introduce our next panel.
I'm Mr. Chuck Mohan, Dr. Bartha Banerjee, and Mazada A. Uddin. Up on stage, please.
We'll be speaking on globalization of the economy and labor rights, but he also teaches a workshop throughout the year at Local 3, as you know, IBEW. He's a labor educator and an immigrant rights
Bangladesh, as you know, is now the 2nd or 3rd largest garment exporting country in the world. If you go to Walmart, if you go to Gap, if you go to H&M, if you go anywhere, Kmart, Target, you just cannot avoid seeing the label made in Bangladesh. So government workers are doing incredible amount of work particularly for US consumers, but without any recognition when it comes to their human rights or when it comes to their wages. Basically, they are being exploited as slaves. And I just want to touch upon the parallel between what's happening in Bangladesh today and what happened here in the United States, or they floor onto the street to their death. And that actually was a huge watershed moment for the United States labor movement, and as a result of the tragedy, people came together, all the working class men and women, supermarket deregulation, import-export deregulation.
From now to get all the labor union to give voice, to come together, fight for them, and create some resolution, create some legislation to be emphasize our labor worker to create equality, minimum wage, health insurance, pension, so that they can get their real job will be done properly. And how we can progress? Go trade union and work rally and continue to process the way worker rights issue and minimum wage issue, equality, and I think it will be better idea to implement our issue to be success in future. And don't give up, don't back up, please.
And I'd like to move on for one moment, because we have something, and I'll be very short, but we have something that is happening today in our country, and Partha alluded to it a few moments ago. As immigrants, we are standing.
So if we are going to talk about South Asian workers, you know, I think it's very important for us to talk about
today
drivers.
We want to talk about the TLC issues. We have got really so many issues.
Most of my big issue is like that, where we drop the people after work home as a safety. Make sure that my customer went home, get in the car, safety. We don't have our safety.
Driving last 18 years. I'm driving, but I know the lots of things that industries was going on there. First of all, I said the NYPD, if you pull over the one mistake, they give 3-4 summons. With 3-4 summons, you lose like 8 points or 6 points, then you can suspend your license 1 month. How can it work? There's only one reason they give 3-4 summons. It's not a working human being. And then recently, there's some organizations that changed the way push the TLC. The NYPD unfair ticketing at a time 3-4 summons. People how can they survive? They have a family, they have a mortgage, they have a kids goes to school. How can they survive? Finally, they decided you have to 1 month the suspend behind. You have to pay $1,000 fine. Then you can working. There's a little bit option to get a chance. If you work, you make money. Then you get a $1,000 opportunity. The TLC make a lot of law changes because a driver cannot work that the way. Because if you get somebody hit on the street, you can ride with your license and suspend. Because it's working. The pedestrians are working with the cell phone. They don't care about the traffic sign, law and regulations. All blame the driver because we're hardworking people. Somebody buys a medallion, $1 million. If any get any accident, he loses $1 million property, and what can they go? This is justice. I said them in a better training that can change this all the things.
I think if we just think about some of the things that Usman has talked about, what he's gotten a violation for or a summons for. There's a rule that you have to have a 5-borough map. It's kind of an old school rule on TLC. He had a GPS. They gave him a summons for not having a fold-out 5-borough map.
Be a part of United We Stand so we can fight for our rights.
Into political seat. I don't understand that. That's the only way you can get something done with these people. Because if your people are in the political thing, then you can win.
We have got arch issues and we want to solve it with our brothers.
So once you organize, the issues will be.
The question is, they said the president not paying them. So they call 911. So they stand by waiting for the police officer. The police officer come and the point the position. What the taxi limousine association want for the driver?
I came from your pain. I'm a member of your family. I know the problems. Today, I'm Executive Vice President of CWA Local 1182.
So that is why people like me can call upon you to come together, because the environment is here. But all across this America today, that you feel proud about, 36 states legislative body is either Tea Party or in Republican control, which has dismantled union organization. Correct?
So we'll hear both sides. So let me introduce, give the bio, Ms. Shaikonia Burden, after their presentation. Please, if you have any question, please feel free to do
Immigration
so.
Services within the Department of Homeland Security. I've been with the agency 29 years, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here tonight to talk to you briefly about the announcement that President Obama made on November 20th regarding executive action on immigration. And the president basically said he is going to implement a series of executive actions to crack down on illegal immigration at the border, prioritize deporting felons, not families, and requiring certain undocumented immigrants to pass a criminal background check, pay taxes, in order to temporarily stay in the United States without fear of deportation. Now, what's most important to know at this point is that this executive action is designed to help 5 million people. We're hoping that there are more than 5 million people that will benefit from this executive action, but it is an enormous step in the right direction, and it is certainly going to allow people to come from under the shadows to come forward and let USCIS, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, know that they're here and obtain employment authorization. So basically this program entails expanding the population that was currently eligible for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program to young people who came to the United States before turning 16 years old and have been present in the United States since January 1st, 2010, and extending the period of deferred action and work authorization from 2 years to 3 years. This executive action will also allow parents, for the first time, of United States citizens and lawful permanent residents who have been in the country since January 1st, 2010 to request deferred action and employment authorization for 3 years. So if people have been in the United States in an unlawful status or illegally since January 1st, 2010, they too can come out of the shadows and file for employment authorization through the process of deferred action. It also expands what we call provisional waivers for people that were unlawfully present to include spouses and sons and daughters of green card holders, as well as sons and daughters of citizens. So for example, if someone has a child in the United States and that child was born on or before November 20th, 2014, that person can file for deferred action and get an employment authorization card, which also can, by virtue of getting the employment authorization card, they can get a social security number. At this point, my agency is the only agency that can adjudicate those applications, meaning the Department of Homeland Security. There is no other organization that can grant deferred action to someone other than the Department of Homeland Security, Office of Citizenship and Immigration Services. It's very important to know that, because at Citizenship and Immigration Services, we're seeing a lot of people that are being defrauded by unscrupulous practitioners and people seeking to prey on people because they don't fully understand the immigration law. At this moment, although the President announced this program on November 20th, please be advised that the information, that forms related to this process are not yet available. That additional guidance related to this process is not yet available. So when you're seeking to obtain immigration information, either you go to our website, which is uscis.gov, not uscis.com, not uscis.org, not uscis.net. It is uscis.gov, as in government. I bought tons of materials back there for you. You can register with uscis.gov, and when the forms become available, or when there is more information related to this process, you will get an email from us telling you exactly what that information is. So be mindful, there is no application available at this point, so do not allow someone to tell you that there is. And I'm just going to give you a few tips to remember when you're seeking, obtaining the services of an immigration attorney, a community-based organization, or an accredited representative that is helping you navigate through the immigration process. Always get a receipt. We often see at Citizenship and Immigration Services, people come into us and they tell us, well, I paid someone $5,000 for a green card application, of which that person was not eligible to apply. And when an investigation is conducted, there's no paper trail. Verify that the person giving you legal advice and representing you before U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services or in immigration court, verify that that person is authorized to provide that type of service. We have seen criminal attorneys in court representing people in immigration matters. Now, the immigration law is significantly different than criminal law. So if you have another type of case, you can't use a tax lawyer for immigration. I would recommend that if you obtain an immigration lawyer, if you obtain a lawyer, that lawyer is well versed in immigration. Keep all of your documentation from us. One thing that we've done in the past when there was an amnesty, we asked people to prove that they were in the United States during a specific time. So if you have utility bills, if you have hospital records, if you have school records, if you have gotten married, these are documents that we consider when we make decisions based on physical presence in the United States. So whatever licenses you obtain, have records of them. Be sure to document that. Check the status of your own case. Even if an attorney files your case for you, we have a feature at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services that will allow you to check to see if we have in fact received your application. You can go online and check to see if we have the application. Report unlawful activities or immigration scams to your local law enforcement agency. In New York, right over here, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, they have an Immigrant Affairs Unit. Downtown Brooklyn, they have an Immigration Affairs Unit where there are assistant district attorneys on hand that aggressively prosecute people for defrauding immigrants. So do not be afraid. We understand if someone is here unlawfully that they may be reluctant to come forward and report that they've been a victim of immigration fraud. But I encourage you to report the fraud. Okay? Do not give anyone your original documents, your original birth certificate, your original Social Security card. At Homeland Security, we will ask you for copies of your documentation. If we determine that we're unable to verify the authenticity of that document, we will call you in and we will ask to look at that document ourselves. But we do not, under any circumstances, want your original documents. Okay? Do not sign any blank forms. It's also important to understand that when you're signing forms, especially related to immigration, you're basically swearing that the information contained on that form is true. So the wrong help can hurt. And you have to be very careful, because if you're not eligible for a certain immigration benefit, and we deny that application, you may end up in front of an immigration judge. So be mindful of the services that you get for someone that is helping you with your immigration case. And more importantly, do not sign things that you don't understand. That's very important. We have community-based organizations throughout New York that have very diverse people on their staff. And I guarantee you, the good thing about New York is that if you're here, there's someone here that speaks your language. Okay? So be very, very careful about the services that you seek. Sign up on our website for updates so that when the applications become available, some will be available within the next 90 days and some will be available within the next 6 months. So it's important for you to understand what's going on. Do you need help? You may need help, because there have been circumstances in your past where you've gone before an immigration judge or something of that to that effect. I encourage you to speak to a lawyer. But there are all sorts of lawyers that can help you navigate through immigration, because it's not easy. And some are free and some are low cost. Okay? Thank you very much for your time.
I imagine that a lot of people will have a lot of questions. And as my friend Ms. Burden Noten said, immigration is a very complex topic, and there is no way I can digest even the important points in 15-20 minutes. So I'm going to give a brief summary on some key issues, and then I will open up the floor to, or I guess we'll open up the floor to questions, and we'll try to address specific questions that you may have. But just by way of introduction, I'd like to ask a question to the audience. Someone who's had an immigration problem. If you personally know someone who's had an immigration problem, please raise your hand. Okay, so by just surveying the audience, a good third of the people have raised their hand. And it doesn't matter where you are on the political spectrum, whether you're the far, far, far left or you're the far, far, far right, the immigration system doesn't work the way it should work, because too many people are waiting too long for the immigration benefit that they qualify for. We see so many family members who are being ripped apart, even though the people that are being deported are hardworking, good, moral character people. And so this is a real problem. Now, there's been a lot of talk about change, a lot of talk about the need for a new law. And we have not been able to pass a comprehensive law in decades. However, as my friend from USCIS has mentioned, there's a lot of people out there who are telling you there's a new law and you should come into my office and you can get a pathway to a green card, or you qualify for employment authorization. Don't worry about it. The most important point that I can make today is to really echo what Ms. Burden Noten already said, which is be very cautious about who you seek advice from. Now, as an immigration attorney, I would tell you that you should speak to an attorney, but not just any attorney, an attorney who specializes in immigration law, in United States immigration law. I would go further, and Ms. Burden Noten can't say this because she cannot endorse any particular organization, but the preeminent national immigration lawyers organization is ALA, which stands for the American Immigration Law Association. And you can easily go to ALA's website, which is AILA.org, and to ask them and to find out if the lawyer that you're speaking to is a member of their organization. And I personally would recommend that any lawyer that you use be a member of this preeminent national organization, ASAAL, American Immigration Law Association. You can also check the local bar association where this person is admitted to practice to make sure that they are not under censure, or they haven't been disciplined, or they don't have a bad track record. So it's very, very important, because this topic is so complex, and I really do believe that in many cases, if not most cases, you should seek the help of a seasoned immigration attorney. Make sure you know how to find out if the person you're receiving assistance from is the right person to help you. With that said, so we recently had an announcement by the President of the United States for an executive order, which impacted how people can defer action and may qualify for employment authorization, which will soon take effect. And I'm not going to take time speaking about that because it was already discussed, and I'm sure that people will have questions during the Q&A period. What I want to do is I want to just briefly talk about some areas of current law that can help be a pathway for people who are out of status, and then talk just a little bit about some other areas of this executive order, and then leave the rest of your questions or concerns to Q&A. Now, the simple fact is that most Americans, or most people living in this country, are members of what we call mixed status families. Even if you're a U.S. citizen, it's very likely that one of your family members is not a U.S. citizen. Maybe you have a family member who's a lawful permanent resident of the United States. Maybe you have a family member who came here on some type of visa and then overstayed their visa. Maybe you have a family member who entered through the border, or as we say, entered without inspection. And there's multiple other types of statuses. There are people who are on a valid visa and maybe changed to another form of valid visa and are in status. So there are many types of statuses, and what your status is will impact what kinds of opportunities or benefits are open to you, whether as a petitioner or a beneficiary. Now, I want to focus on two types of people who are undocumented, as we say, right? The people who may be undocumented because they entered through the border, maybe through Canada or through Mexico, and we say those people entered without inspection. And then there are other people who have no status, who are out of status, because they came on a valid visa and overstayed their visa. Okay? There are other categories, but I want to focus on those two categories for a moment. Now, those two categories of people represent, we believe conservatively, over 10 million people in the United States. So it's a lot of people in the United States. And one of the reasons that so many people have said we need a change in the immigration law is so that we can find a way to find a pathway for legal status for these people. What Obama announced on November 20th, 2014 was not that. He did not announce a pathway for a green card or lawful permanent resident status for these groups of people. What I want to do is just take a moment to mention some areas of current law that many people don't realize that do provide a current pathway for these people if they are eligible, if they can meet the factors that would make them eligible for a green card. The first one is called a special immigrant juvenile status visa. And these are for young people who've entered the United States, let's say through the border or overstayed their visa. They have no legal status in the United States. When I say young people, I'm referring to people who are under the age of 21. So you can be an adult, 20 years old, 19 years old, 18 years old, and you might be thinking about this program, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, but there might be a program under current law that can be a pathway to a green card for you. Now, if you're a young person under 21 years of age, and you have been abandoned, abused, or neglected, these are three legal standards, okay? But if you have been abandoned, abused, or neglected by one of your parents, you may qualify for special immigrant juvenile visa status. If you have been abandoned, neglected, or abused by one of your parents, you can fall under the jurisdiction of a family court in the state in which you live. And if that family court gives custody to an individual that is obviously not the abusing, neglecting, or abandoning parent, and makes a special order that they believe it's in your best interest to remain in the United States and to not be reunited with that parent who has abandoned, neglected, or abused you, then you will qualify to apply for a special immigrant juvenile visa. And if you get the special immigrant juvenile visa, if you qualify for the special immigrant juvenile visa, you will also qualify for lawful permanent resident status. Okay? You will be able to then file this application for special immigrant juvenile visa, and you can concurrently file for a green card, or you can wait for your special immigrant juvenile visa status to be approved, and then file for lawful permanent residence in the United States. Now, of course, you have to make sure that you have someone who can help you through the family court process or through a guardianship process, so that a family court judge or a guardian or a surrogate court judge can make the proper ruling in state court that you have been abandoned, neglected, or abused. And then after you have that special order that we mentioned, that it is not in your interest to return to your home country, you can qualify for what we call SIJ status, special immigrant juvenile status, and the green card. So that's one category of people. And I have plenty of people who come into my office and they already qualify for the DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and after interviewing them, I realized they also qualify for special immigrant juvenile visa status, or they're now 22 or 23 or 24, and had they known, they could have qualified for this pathway. So that's one, and we can talk more about it during Q&A because there's really a lot of details. Two, if you're a victim of domestic violence. The United States really looks to protect categories of people who might be considered a victim in various categories. So if you are, let's say, entered the country through the border, overstayed a visa, and you're married to a US citizen. Well, if you came through the border and you don't have any exceptions that you qualify for, you cannot get the green card unless you leave the country and go through the consular process. But if you leave the country, you risk not being able to return because you will be barred from coming back into the United States for 3 years if you've been in the United States unlawfully for 6 months up to a year, or you will be barred up to 10 years if you've been unlawfully present in the country for 1 year or longer. So most people, even if they have, let's say, a husband or a wife who's a US citizen, and they enter the country through the border, they don't want to leave. Unfortunately, we have many people who are victims of domestic violence by their US citizen spouse. And if you are the victim of domestic violence, whether it be physical or psychological or financial or social, you may qualify to self-petition. And even though you entered the country through the border, you will still qualify for lawful permanent resident status. So these are two categories. One, for young children, the special immigrant juvenile visa status. The second one that I just mentioned is the victim of domestic violence, where that person, that victim, can self-petition. I do want to mention one other thing. It's a little technical, and I'll try to explain it very briefly. There's been a case law that many practitioners are speaking about that went up to the circuit court level back in 2012, which really changed, lessened the risk of not being able to return to the country for 10 years or 3 years, depending on how long you were unlawfully present. And that's because there was a case law that said that if you leave the country on advanced parole while you have a pending lawful permanent resident application, when you leave the country, it is not considered a departure for immigration purposes. Why is this so important? Because I just explained to you that there are large categories of people that don't want to leave the United States, because if they leave, they will not be able to come back in, because they will be barred from coming back in for either 3 years or 10 years, depending on how long they were unlawfully present in the United States. Well, after this case law was decided, and the USCIS decided to implement this policy, once you have advanced parole approved by the government, it is now much safer to leave the country with a pending green card application. What is advanced parole? Advanced parole is an application to the government asking them in advance of your trip to give you permission to leave and to be paroled back into the United States. Is it a guarantee that you will get advanced parole? Of course not. If you get advanced parole, is it a guarantee that you will be permitted back into the United States? No, they can never do that. But there are many, many legal safeguards in place that if you do get advanced parole, I feel that I can say it's a fairly safe chance that you will be permitted back in, and that's by examining A, case law, and B, looking at the Customs Border Patrol Field Manual, and looking at evidence out there in the field. People who get advanced parole, as long as they're not a national security risk or haven't committed crimes since the granting of their advanced parole, have a very good and safe chance of being paroled into the United States after their trip abroad. Why do I mention this? Because if you have a pending green card application and the government grants you advanced parole, when you leave the country, even though you were unlawfully present at the time of your departure, when you are paroled back into the United States, you will now have a legal status called parolee. And having a legal status as a parolee, you will no longer have the same problem that you did when you were trying to get the green card as someone who had this undocumented status. So that's another big area of change that has nothing to do really with this announcement that was made on November 20th. This announcement that was made on November 20th did talk about making the rules around advanced parole more consistent and uniform and clear, but these areas of the law that I'm explaining to you right now pre-exist Obama's announcement on November 20th. So I'm not going to talk about the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA. I'm not going to talk about Deferred Action for Parental Accountability, DAPA. I'm not going to talk about the 601A provisional waivers. They were already discussed, but I'm happy to answer any questions because even though we're all still waiting for a law, comprehensive immigration reform to happen, there are measures in place, yes, complicated, but many people don't realize that there are measures in place where people can find immigration relief, where there can be pathways for people to obtain employment authorization and even lawful permanent resident status. But the most important point is to make sure you seek advice from a seasoned immigration attorney. And I would again recommend that when you have an attorney that you're speaking to, make sure, A, that they have a good, solid track record in their field, and 2, I would even go further and say they should be a member of the American Immigration Law Association, which you can check with the AILA.org website, AILA.org. And the final thing I'll say is just to echo what Ms. Burton Noten said, which is take a look at their website. Their website is an incredible resource. They recently updated their website. There's incredible tools. It's very customer service oriented. And just to remind you, that's uscis.gov. Thank you very much.
Our contact information, our 1-800 number, and our website. And we were talking earlier about citizenship. I also brought information on how to become a citizen. I bought the DVDs that show the actual naturalization interview so that you can become more familiar with what to expect when you come to see us. I also bought the CDs that contain the application. You can download that. So there's a lot of information back there, and it also has a link, I believe, to that organization that Brian was mentioning, AILA. So please make sure that you take that information with you as well.
The next person, please.
Hi, I'm Chuck. I just want to make 2 comments quick. First to the sister. I totally dislike that word illegal. None of us are illegal. We're just undocumented. That's the first thing. And I know that you're giving all the legal analysis, but a few points I'd like to make. While it might be a good move in the right direction from the president, as an immigrant advocate, I think every one of those estimated 12 million people should be.
Your question is whether this
But she's talking also about tax. Tax, exactly. Yes. Tax, and I don't know if this will translate into, because if I show them as a dependent, obviously I'll get a deduction. Right. So, they will reduce my tax. The government will collect less tax from me. So am I causing the...
I'm just going to, this is really
English proficiency, language problem in our community and society. and that all the program should emphasize or implement our State Department, and language should be, material should be language in Bengali. That is my emphasis.
At this point, USCIS currently has materials available in 12 languages. We are aware that there are certain populations, more so than others, that require that some of our documentation be available in those languages. It was incredibly expensive initially to reproduce our forms in other languages. I can take note that you requested that we make available information in Bengali.
Thank you so much, Ma. Not only his incredible leadership in the community, but for his undying dedication to this movement we call labor. I want to thank the organizers of ASAAL for the conference. Thank you for sticking around, because I understand some of you have been here for quite a long time. So I will not take a long time, but there are a few things I wanted to tell you. I am honored today to sit on the wake of becoming the leader of the greatest union that's ever been District Council 37.
For working on the white papers that created new bargaining tools in contract negotiations. 7th Annual Convention, New York, December 6, 2014. Misbah Uddin, founder and president, Radha Krishna Mohan, Convention Committee Chair, and that is an honor for us to give this to him. Thank you. Brooklyn Chapter's friend, Eric L. Adams.
Thank you, ASAAL. I think that Henry really touched on something that I think is universal to all. What you are doing today is part of the natural process.
Henry Garrido, who's going to be an outstanding leader of DC 37, and he's also hails from Queens, which of course we all know is the most diverse county in the world. For those of you that don't come from Queens, we have over 200 countries of origin.
Pronounced my name the way my grandfather always did. He always said Roxanne. I am not sure why he did that, but I'm just happy to be
And
here.
now as a member of the City Council, and everything that you hear your leaders up here talking about is true. If you go out and register to vote, if you support candidate representation for the South Asian community. Let me just say, I was looking through the resolutions that you have in this convention here today with Justice Anil Singh, and I didn't tell him that I was
Far away from the perfect rights, we are still fighting. We still have some violations of the rights. I'm, by the way, also the ambassador of International Human Rights Commission in the United States. So I'm we always believe that our justice system is best in the world, but it's the high time that we should.
We had promised we're going to complete total convention way. Now what we do is we will have chapter each of the models.
Yeah, we have done that since 2002. I was in Sophie Stewart in Tropicana Hotel and Casino.
And looking at. When I ran, people told me why you ran. Your people don't even vote. I told them, you know why.
There is stronger ASAAL chapter in New York State, in United States of America. Thank you.
Internationally, with so many different groups and throughout the country in 26 different cities throughout the world.
You do it, got me losing every breath. How did you catch me? Make my heart beat on my chest. I feel we're close enough. Could I like your love? Close enough. But I
unfortunately, because he's retired, so he's traveling all over the world. He could not come, but from last year, ASAAL has started honoring one of our own who has contributed in the community for the most. As you know, we are a labor organization, community-based. We do politics. We endorse candidates, knock the door, call. But congratulations to our campaign worker of the year, Muhammad S. Uddin, Muhammad Sabul, for his work in electing ASAAL endorsed candidate. So everyone work hard next time, and I will choose the right person.
I want to be a partner in South Asian issues. I know that there are wage issues.
For John Wilhelm for the work with Unite Here, and I also brought one for Henry, but most importantly, I brought one for your president.
And say that let it be resolved that as duly elected members.
Thank you for your hard work, your dedication, and your advocacy. And God bless that you keep on going. And
some of you may know Manas is my son. I'm very proud and honored what we are looking at our community to grow, and they're growing accordingly. Thank you.
Policy making in regard to
I'd like to introduce to one of the elected official, city council member, Danique Miller. He doesn't need too much introduction, as you know. He's the chair for labor
So
in city
as we
council.
go into the struggle, we need someone, an organization as strong as ASAAL, to be there in the trenches, in the battles with you, and I'm proud and honored to
I convey heartfelt thanks
Since ASAAL start their work, we are always behind of ASAAL, because we thought if the community want to be strengthened, then an organization like ASAAL should be behind of the community. I congratulate Maaf Mesbauddin, who is a true leader of our community. I thanks all of them.
We have to make a voice together under the leadership of my leader, Maaf Mesbauddin. Please give him hands and thank you.